Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Capes Crusader, Cody, and we are keeping it geekly with our new friend, Nahuel. We're here to break down Negative Space Comics Anthology and everything in between. But before we do that, welcome to the stream, man. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Happy to be here. Love talking comics, so thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was literally probably one of the shortest notice interviews I've said. I remember we were just talking yesterday. I'm like, hey, man, like, what are you doing tomorrow? Like, can we get you on? And you're like, let's run it. I'm like, let's go. I love the energy. But
hell yeah.
Before we get too deep into the anthology, let's break down a little bit about who you are and how you got into creating comics.
Yeah, so been writing for a while. I mean, I'll say the usual that most people say, right? Been reading comics my whole life. I used to like write and draw my own little comics when I was like a 7-year-old kid or whatever it might be, right? I did all those things. Got a little more serious in college, but in the last few years, I realized how much fun I had writing comics. So I just kind of like put a bit more focus into it, kind of started driving more at this side of the writing than the screenwriting and all that side. So it's been 3-4 years that I've like put some decent hours into it, and the last year and a half that I started putting some decent money into it for artists and stuff like that.
And man, some decent effort as well. This is what we're here to talk about, Negative Space Comics Anthology, which of course is a 150-page collection of 15 short comics. That is such a doozy. How did you end up like transitioning from just creating small comics on little pieces of paper to this massive anthology?
Man, it's really, at this point, it's been about 1.5 years since I launched Negative Space Comics, the competition side of things. Competitions have been like a kind of a norm in the screenwriting world. They happen all the time. So when I realized that getting into comic writing, I wanted to like just create something that I wish I had 3 years ago when I started getting into comics, to try to like learn more about like the process and the behind the scenes and all that stuff. So like this book all started from day one of starting Negative Space competitions. We wanted to find like the gems that were kind of like hidden and wanting to come out, the aspiring creators, the soon to be huge names. We wanted to find all those people. And this book really is about 3-4 months in the making, when I just reached out to all past winners, past mentors, past finalists, and just said, let's do a book. Our mission is to get people mentorship through the competitions, but bigger than that, it's really just to get people published and get people in the comic book industry. So if a year in, we can say that we're actually publishing our own writers, our own winners, our own finalists, it was a dream. So yeah, ambitious first go at it, but I think it had to be big.
I mean, this sounds like such a unique concept. So you run competitions as well. Can you give us a little bit more what goes into that?
Yeah, so we kind of figured out our structure in the past few competitions, where we want to run 4 competitions throughout the year. We want this to be really a staple in young creators' journey and trying to like learn more, right? So we have a competition that's kind of open to everyone. We're looking at script writing in general, so 22 to 28 page scripts, any genre, any writer, anyone that just like wants to like get their comic out there. And then we have competitions that are a little bit more focused for underrepresented communities. We have a diversity competition that we call our Spaces competition, and we have a women's only competition, just trying to bring more fresh voices and needed voices into the comic book industry. Our winners don't just get like a little digital trophy that you can like put on your website and say, ooh, I won something. You get legit hours with mentors that are professionals. So we find 3 mentors per competition. You get an hour with each. Usually it's like a professional writer, professional artist, editor, publisher, agent, something along those lines that kind of helps you understand the behind the scenes and like the steps that you need to take so that your career goes to the next level.
That's so cool that you incorporate like mentorship like that. I mean, what was some of your inspiration for like going as far as doing this? I think doing the competition in itself is such an awesome way to kind of spotlight people, get their work out there, get more eyes on it. But to even go further and to incorporate like mentorship, like with people who are experienced within the industry, like that is like such a useful tool that I've never even really heard of.
Yeah, it's kind of like two-sided. I think getting to know and grow your community and grow your circle is important in comics, right? So we use Twitter, or we use all these different Discords or whatever it might be to kind of like find your circle and find your friends in all of this. But let's be real, it's helpful to like find that circle when the people that you're talking to have already made it, right? You start to learn from their experiences. When they've been doing it for 15 years or 10 or 5, whatever it is, they still have experiences that you can learn from. That's a big piece to like what I learned when I was like looking into like the importance of mentorship in aspiring anything, right? Not just comic creators or anything. We can try to like hit the wall as hard as we can so that I myself experience every downfall that it takes to create comics. Or I can work smart and learn from people that have already gone through it and kind of help myself climb that ladder. And the other side is also that, like I mentioned, screenwriting competitions are norm in the screenwriting Hollywood world. In my screenwriting, I've won a few, I've placed in a handful, and
let's go.
Like I said, there were some that just just gave me like a little badge and said, cool, you're a finalist, cool, you're a winner, whatever it is. And I was like, I felt good for 15 minutes and then kind of died out. But there was one in particular that actually got me a meeting with a professional writer on a Netflix show, and I got to just pick their brains for an hour. And I was like, man, this was more like helpful to me and supportive to me, and I learned more in that 1 hour of talking to someone that actually went through it than let's be real, 5 or 6 of my college level courses that I took in screenwriting. So that's when I noticed how much mentorship and really getting to talk to someone that experienced it, how helpful it is to your career.
And that sounds like it's pivotal. I mean, let's be real too, the experience. I used to do door-to-door sales, and they say what, like 2 years of that is like a 4-year like equivalent to like business in college, like because you learn like on the streets like how to work it, and there's things that you learn just doing it that, you know, a course isn't necessarily going to be able to like teach you or replicate to you in a short period of time.
Yeah, and one thing also I hear often, and I love the mentors that we have in our competitions. They're all amazing. They all have their own experiences. They all are super generous with their time and their knowledge. But one in particular, Heather Antos, senior editor at IDW, formerly at Marvel, all this stuff. She talks to us about how hard it is for a writer in comics to get their work in front of someone, right? For an artist, it's a visual, right? You can post it, you can show it off. For a writer, it's really hard for an editor, for a publisher to read through a script. Sometimes the editors don't even want to do that because they don't want to get into like this murky like middle ground of like ideas getting stolen or whatever it is. They just kind of stay away from reading scripts.
You know, I didn't even think about it like that, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely a worry for a lot of people, a lot of editors, publishers. They sometimes stay away from that. That's why they read pitches instead of scripts. And we have all the right kind of like things in between our mentors and our writers so that everyone's kind of safe when they're in this reading stages. So she always mentions how important it is because writers actually get a chance to have their work seen by professionals, which is rare.
So when you do these competitions, like what are some of the critiques that are involved? Like what are you guys looking for when you are like choosing some of the winners?
Oh man, I spent a really long time breaking this down. So the most important part is that like I'm not the one choosing, right? So like I mentioned, I've been writing comics for years, but my name is not on a Marvel book, right? It's not on a big publisher's on the wall just yet. And I will say just yet. We'll
just yet.
Some things are coming, but So the first part is getting our judges to also be professionals, right? So our judges are also experienced, our judges are in the industry, and our judges have been have made it, if we want to call it that. When we break down kind of like going from semifinalist to finalist to winner, we have an entire breakdown of it's like 100-point grading rubric, and it goes from what you'd expect when judging something like this, which is like looking at characters, looking at plot, looking at how well written or how clean the document is, right? Because like if the document is actually like legible, if you actually can read it, or if it's like just a bunch of a wall of text that like you just like don't feel like looking at. And then it also looks at the voice, it looks at the tone, it looks at the style. It looks at marketability of like how it would actually do if it was out on in a comic book shop. So it looks at all these things. Each section is graded out of 10. You add all that stuff up, and the judges are actually kind of grading that to see, based on numbers alone, who is our winner.
That's cool. I love the reason I wanted to ask, because I love hearing just how in depth it is, how many like different marks you have to hit, because this seems like such a like I said, such a unique experience, you know, to be able to win, be you know, one of the winners and get some one-on-one time with pros in the industry. That's awesome. We have J. Michael Miller over on YouTube stopping in to say some great talent in this book, and then we have Oblivia over on Twitch stopping in to hype up the chat as well. So speaking of the talent, you know, can you give us some of the people involved with this project?
Oh man, when I was trying to create like the bios list, it just kept going on and on and on by just like some amazing stuff and amazing people. So originally we started with people that went through our competitions. So those are the names I know the best, because they went through they're our winners, our finalists, our mentors, our judges. That includes the 3 winners that we've had so far. Rob Melendez, which was our first ever winner a year ago. Mia Torres, who won our women's competition. Ace Tissimer, I never know how to say their last name correctly, but they were our student competition winner. So the 3 of them are definitely in this book, and they have some really cool stories. We have a handful of finalists like Sean Murphy and Kelly LaCroix. We have Omar. Oh man, who am I? And then like we have obviously our mentors, right? So like we do also push like our established creators who are on this book. Brian Hawkins is on there, who right now has his story, The Vineyard, out on Aftershock, which is really cool. If you're not reading it, you got to check it out. We have Marla Isaac, who is an editor at TKO right now, was formerly at Image. Teddy Leo, who is an editor at Aftershock. So we have some like big people.
You got some big people.
Yeah, Justin Zimmerman, who's an Eisner winner with the Love is Love graphic novel a few years ago. So we have some really cool people on there that are backing from like the established creators. But for the most part, I think it's 9 or 10 of the creators through our competitions are trying to break in, are trying to make it in comics, are trying to start their career in this. And I think it's like 6 or 7 of them have never been published before, but they've been
so cool though. They've
been chosen by our judges, by our mentors. They are really amazing. They should be in comics. So getting them published for the first time is, it warms my heart to be able to say that I get the chance to do that.
You know, we share a lot of similar mission statements, I would say. Like for me, like getting the opportunity to have creators of all sizes. You know, for me, if you're creating a comic, I believe you have a voice, and that voice deserves to be heard. So that's like a big thing for my show, is like getting that opportunity for people who don't necessarily have that opportunity to go on other shows. And like how many times I hear like this is their first show, like I eat that up. Like I walk out the room and I'm barely able to get my head through the doorway sometimes. Like I love it. I live for that. So before we dive into the Zoop campaign, and which, by the way, guys, if you are watching, be sure to check this out. If you are unable to back, simply sharing that on Twitter, on Facebook, anywhere you can, helps a ton. Word of mouth is 100% free, and it will help get as many eyes on this as possible. So what does that process look like, pairing writers to artists with this anthology?
So we had a handful of our writers who already had artist connections. So luckily, a handful of them live in Portland, so like they're surrounded. When I was on a call with Sean Murphy the other day, and he said you can't swing a cat without hitting a comic book creator in Portland. Yeah. That's his expression. I just found it hilarious. And so a handful of them had connections already, and so they had their artists. They sent it over to me and Marla. So Marla Isaac, who is an editor at TKO, she's also co-editing the book with me. So the two of us are kind of like looking at all the stories, looking at all the artists, looking at pages, all that stuff. So with a handful, it was lucky enough that they kind of made their own connections. The ones that had not been published before, right? So the ones that are like really, they're storytellers and they love comics and they're getting into this for the first time, they didn't have connections. So we did our best to kind of use our circle through Negative Space. We put up a couple blasts out there every few weeks, trying to find artists who we noticed were kind of in the same place. They also were kind of like grinding on Twitter, like showing off their art. They have this amazing art, but they haven't had like the connection to like be able to get published or like get seen by whoever. So that's when we were able to have some fun, and we read all the scripts and kind of like be able to pair up scripts with the right artist. Me as a writer, I would love to be an editor someday, right? So this is like the first chance that I get to like really show off that skill. I used to run a school newspaper. I've done all the editing work in other mediums, but in this world,
for this, right?
I love it, and I have such a blast. And like the pairing scripts to artists was probably like my favorite process.
So do you have a story in this as well?
I do. The Undoing. Well, this is I love this one. First of all, Dennis Naniri.
I love Dennis, dude. He's working with my dude Anas.
He blows my mind every time he sends me something. I literally, when he sent me the first page, which is like the page that's on the Zoop campaign, I literally probably spent 3 days just staring at it on my phone. This story means a lot to me. This is a story that I wrote it years ago. It's all ready to be pitched. It was just waiting for some art. So I kind of wrote a little short story outside of this big series that I wrote, and got lucky enough to get Dennis to do the art for it. And it all has to do with this boy who's kind of dealing with a lot of death in his family, and he finds this well that takes him back in time. And he tries to do everything he can to change the things that led to his family dying. But ultimately, obviously, you can't bring back people. So it's all about a boy who's trying to deal with grief and death. And
some heavy shit to go through as a kid, too.
Yeah. So, I mean, we can get into it, but obviously there's a lot that I bring in from my experience in this, which is why I love the story so much and why this one is so important to me. And I don't know if you saw, but I posted yesterday or 2 days ago, the little bearded dragon that's like the dragon that's in the story is bearded dragon, who was my pet as well. We lost him a couple of years ago. So Dennis is bringing him back to life in this story, which I love to see.
Dude, I had multiple bearded dragons when my kids were just little, and those things are so cool. I love how chill they are. When they would wave, that would throw a lot of people off. They were not expecting to wave. Or when you made it mad, and it would its beard would just violently get black. You would not expect that thing to change colors like it did, but those things can.
And he would just. And they would do that nod thing. Yeah, I love. They were Spikey was the best.
It's so cool, so cool. So give it. If you want to, you could dive into some of that experience. But if not, we can go ahead and just take this time and go over to the Zoop campaign and check it out ourselves. So we are checking out Negative Space Comics Anthology, a 150-page collection of short stories from Negative Space Comics competition winners, finalists, mentors, judges, and more. Support this project to gain access to rare opportunities in the add-on section, including competition entries and one-on-one mentoring sessions with respected comic book industry professionals. Currently at $5,287 of a $9,000 goal with 79 supporters and 24 days left to go, dude. Awesome. This is, it seems like you guys are on fire right now.
Yeah, it's I love seeing support come in every day. It just makes me feel so good. I'm so ready to get this book out.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and check out some of these rewards. So you can get a PDF of the anthology for $15, a physical print for $25. We have the retail bundle, physical prints of five copies for $65, and then the retail physical print 10 copies at $125. And then here are some of the add-ons as well. So do you want to give us a little bit of a breakdown of some of these add-ons?
Yeah, definitely. But right before I do that, I do want to shout out Andy Williams, Andy the illustrator on like Twitter and Instagram. He did our cover, and I've loved his art for so many years. So I'm so glad to be able to work with him. I love his style. So I just wanted to shout out Andy the illustrator. He did our cover.
No, I love it. I love it.
It's so cool. But yes, getting back to the add-ons and stuff like that. So since we focus so much on our competitions and our mentorship, we did want to find a way to like get those in there somehow. One of the things we want to make sure we do through Negative Space is to like be consistent with what we do. So we have already 4 competitions ready for next year. If you get them through the Zoop campaign, you're paying less than you would if you're paying for them throughout the year. Our competitions usually have I think it's a $35 next year, where we're lower our cost for next year actually, which is great. $35 for regular deadline and $50 for our final like late deadlines. If you buy it through here now, anticipating that you're going to want to submit, you can get it for a lot cheaper and keep that even for the late deadlines. Another one I'm excited about is like our Pitch Fest competition. That's one that we get the most questions from creators about how to pitch to a publisher and how to pitch to an editor. So we're going to have an entire competition that's solely based on pitches.
That's awesome.
And we're going to have some really cool editors on there to review the pitches. And then it's going to all end with our top 5 pitches, actually presenting them live on a panel to editors who will be able to critique and give notes live on those pitches. So that's a new one for us that I'm super excited about, that you can enter here now for cheaper.
Another cool add-on I think is promoting a crowdfunding campaign. So what's this advertisement look like? $10 seems like it's a steal.
Yeah, it's super low. We're doing, I have a whole thing that I plan to send out to everyone, and we're gonna showcase it, I think, in a newsletter later this week. But it basically is like a week-long promotion for your campaign. It's gonna involve newsletters, it's going to involve our Twitters, it's going to involve I guess I can probably say it here, we do have a podcast coming out soon.
Ooh, let's go, dude.
Yeah, so it's going to go on there as well. So we have a couple different things that we'll be doing for you all, for whoever does take this promotion, but it'll be a week-long promotion through us with a certain number of posts and everything. The mentoring stuff, that's what I'm most excited about that's on here. We have a lot of people that are volunteering their time, which just goes to show you how generous these people are. And you basically get the experience of what our winners are getting. You get an hour or 45 minutes with some really cool professionals. It's all aimed to help you in your next step. So that's why we have a handful of different people. So we have like Brian and Julio, who are primarily writers in the industry right now. Teddy and Marla, who are primarily editors. Myself, if anyone wants to just kind of hear a little bit about every aspect because let's be real, in the last year that I get to talk to all these awesome professionals, I'm learning a crap ton as well, right? So I have all this knowledge for myself. So those are all available there as well. And this week we will also be announcing some commissions and some prints coming out from a handful of really cool artists that we're going to put up on Zoop as well.
Dude, let's go. So here is a little bit of the story as well. So Negative Space Comics is 1 year old. To celebrate, they are launching their first ever anthology featuring competition winners, finalists, mentors, judges, and more. Writers were told to give us their interpretation of what negative space means to them, either as a physical thing, a concept, or a mission, and they took it and ran with it. So most stories are going to be YA plus and range in genre from horror to romance, from fantasy to real life. So that's awesome, man. Congratulations on the 1 year. Here is some of the interior pages to, and what to expect. And I love the different ranges of art. Like, it is so gorgeous to scroll through this and kind of just see it's like a lot of like varying degrees of just like different styles and techniques.
Yeah, I was excited to not really give much of like direction on the art side. Obviously we had a little bit of say on some of the writers that needed to find artists, but everything's so colorful, everything's gonna look so cool. I love anthologies that kind of bring in a lot of different styles, because that's what it should be. It's every story should have its own style. It shouldn't fit to like a box of like a template or something.
And like I love this right here. Like I instantly knew this was Dennis just because of like the colors and everything. Like I instantly scrolling, I was like, yep, right there's Dennis. Like
there it is.
Yeah, these are all gorgeous. And here is a look at the contributors as well. So a huge team of people involved on this. There is like so many individuals. Like, holy crap.
Oh, yeah. And I'm excited. Actually, that bottom right corner is really cool. The short comics competition winner. We're currently, we're about to start the judging on that tomorrow, actually. That was our latest competition that we just ran. It was a short comics competition. I think anywhere between like 2 to 10 pages or something like that. We got tons and tons of submissions for that one. And whoever wins that one, and the finalists will be in a digital anthology that we're just going to put out online for free for everyone, but the actual top winner is going to be included in this as well. So the winner of that competition is literally just going straight into publishing.
And then right here, there's just a list of everyone involved. So be sure, once again, right here is that link. Be sure to check it out. And you know, like I said, if you can't back, just simply sharing it, retweeting it, putting it on Facebook, anywhere you can. It's going to help to get the word out there. And it's 100% free to do. You know, it's 100% free, and it's going to help get this project funded quicker and quicker. So here are some of the stretch goals as well. At 20K, we have the Negative Space sticker pack. 25K, we have the postcard set. And then at 30K, we have the Negative Space fund. So give us a little bit about this. This one sounds like a big one.
Yeah, so I'll preface it. Actually, I sent an update to Zoop today, and they're about to update this because we ran through our numbers and we actually were able to cut off 5,000 off of all those stretch goals because we want to get people more excited, and we'll be able to handle all of them if we have like if we go back to like it'll be 15,000 for the stickers, 20 for the postcard, and 25 actually for the fund, which we're actually super excited that we can actually cut that down, and because the fund is really what will be a big one for us. We understand that our competitions take money to submit to, right? It all is for logisticals. We have to pay for a lot of stuff on the back end, and even if we can make our submissions to our competitions as low as possible, some people still can't afford it, right? People have lives that they have to pay for. It 100% understandable. So if we get to this goal of 25,000, the Negative Space Fund will basically allow us to be able to open this up for anyone that needs to apply for help, either discounts or free submissions. Yeah, so literally it will be a way that like anyone that wants to get into comics, they don't need a single dollar. They just need a talent and a script. And they can get out there. So
it's
if
not
we
like
can get to the stretch goal.
You have like big names as mentors too, like editors, like people you would want to talk to and look at your stuff, because those are the people that you're going to be trying to like, you know, essentially be selling your comic to, right? Like,
yeah.
What better people to judge your material?
Exactly. And I can't say any names or any connections or anything as of yet, but things have happened through our competitions, and you'll see those happening and announcing in the next year or so. But like people that not even just our winners, our finalists have been making connections with publishers, and things are in place. I wish I could say more about all those
you're
things,
good. You're good. I just started getting into
you know
NDAs and everything. Yes,
exactly.
I just started getting into it, and I tell them every time, like, dude, you need to have like a girlfriend clause, because like you expect me not to tell my girlfriend about this stuff? Like, come on. So
I always, any conversation I have, I always say, yo, I won't tell a soul, but just know I'm gonna tell Alex everything, because she's my partner. There's no way I'm keeping it. I'm not keeping anything from her.
Yeah. So this wraps up the Zoop campaign. All anthology stories are already in the art stage. So they spent August editing the stories. They expected inks to be ready by the end of September and color and letters by the end of October. So when the campaign ends on November 4th, it's going to take roughly about 2 to 3 weeks to finalize everything, aiming for December for printing. So that is awesome. So let me go ahead and ask you this question now that we are here. For anyone that is on the fence about backing, what would you like to say to them directly to kind of help push them through that barrier?
Oh man, it's just I love the conversation that we've been having for the last few years in comics about needing more voices, needing new creators, needing diversity, needing all of that. It's so needed and it's so important and it's so engraved in like what we do at Negative Space and why we do it. This book is like a physical representation of that, right? It's people that have ever tweeted that we need new voices in comics should be backing this, because this is literally what we're doing for people. It's as much as I don't know, if that doesn't sell someone, I don't know what does. People's dreams are here. Yeah, people are excited for this. This is like gonna make people's careers. And like you said, it's if money's not the thing. My favorite tweet I saw recently was literally someone saying retweets are free. Like it's all it takes. Just spreading the word. Yeah, and just keep an eye out. We also have a newsletter, negativespacecomics.com/newsletter. Later this week, we'll be announcing a handful more things going on there as add-ons. So if you want to be the first to hear about them, sign up and you'll get that.
Oh, absolutely, and I think what you guys are doing is awesome. This is a big thing, this running these competitions, getting creators in front of mentors like this. Essentially, you're changing their entire careers to some degree, right? Like I think that is such an awesome thing in itself, and backing this book helps continue that. It helps continue that for many years to come. And it's New Comic Book Day tomorrow, so treat yourself, right? So with that being said, we've come to my favorite part of the podcast. As much as this is a show where we really focus on you and your book, I always love taking a little bit of time to kind of ask a question for anyone who might be new into the scene or maybe even just struggling. So for anyone out there that is listening and having a hard time getting just started with their project, what type of advice would you offer them to kind of just help them like get motivated enough to start?
Oh man.
The small questions are always the hardest, right?
Yeah, I love that. I can't remember who I was talking to recently about this, and it was basically the idea that like this is something that anyone can do, right? Comics. There's a barrier to like when you're looking for artists, when you're trying to like hit editors and do all that stuff, but it's also super accessible to write and to tell a story, and we all have stories. I feel like that's like a thing that we try to say whose stories are more important than others, but everyone has gone through something. Everyone has a story to tell, and if you're not telling it, it means that someone else that might be going through it will never read about it and will feel alone. Yeah, and it's like we can kind of like wrap that back up to like what I was saying before, my story, right? So I'll be honest about like what I write about is death and grief, right? They're heavy subjects. My dad committed suicide when I was in high school, right? And I had no stories anywhere where I could actually go and like read someone's experience and feel like I was seen, or feel like someone else went through it, or feel like I might be able to get through this thing, right? Because someone else did. So I write stories so that someone else that shitty enough might have to go through something like that will have something to read to make them realize that they can also like get through it themselves. So if you ever feel like your story's dumb or it doesn't need to be out there or whatever it is, every story needs to be out there. I feel like someone needs it.
That, like, when you said there's going to be someone out there who needs to read it, that, like, in my head, I'm like, dude, I need to start writing immediately after this is done. Like, holy crap, that was good. That was motivating. Thank you so much for swinging by, breaking down this anthology and everything that goes into it. I appreciate The quick notice too. Thank you. That was, you know, we just set this up yesterday, and this was such an awesome talk, man.
Yeah, I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we did it this quick. And the few that I listened to, I knew it was gonna be fun. So I'm glad I came, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Everyone watching, be sure to check out this, and be sure to back. If you're unable to back, just simply retweet it, sharing it on Facebook, Twitter, anything you can is going to help get that word out. Hope you all have an awesome Tuesday night, but most importantly, guys, keep it geekly.